everybody. Welcome to this live show. It's Mega Wellness Summit, Mind, Body, and Spirit Connection. I am here with Karen Ross. She is a medical intuitive. She's been working in this field for many, many years. How many years, Karen?
Well, at least 15, 16 years, doing what I do. But over the years, a combination of probably 30 years experience with my nursing.
Right.
I mean, probably even more of that with just being intuitive as a child. So definitely the medical intuition. I got my degree in nursing in 81.
Wow. The reason why I've asked Karen to come on board and share her knowledge with everybody from Mega Wellness Summit is because she is a medical intuitive, and the importance of somebody who can, read what's going on into your body and intuitively tell you what's going on mentally, physically, emotionally, and to get some answers that you might not be getting from a regular medical doctor. And so, I've asked her to hone in on one subject, which is mental illness, because I know a lot of people are suffering from that, current day, with being that we have all these psychotropic drugs and chemicals and toxins in the air. It's just overwhelming. So a lot of us are being diagnosed with mental illness, whether it be bipolar, depression, whatever it is. And that actually might not be the case in reality. It might be triggered by a thyroid deficiency or chemicals or toxins or overabundance of hormones or estrogens. So it doesn't really have to pertain to mental illness. So if you want to come on board and ask Karen a question, there'll be time for that towards the end of the call. But right now, we're just going to jump in and get to know Karen. And I would like to know your story, Karen, from how did this come about, your medical intuitiveness?
Well, as a little kid, I grew up on a farm in North Carolina, and I'm actually in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is where I live now, and it's a snowy day. But I grew up on a farm in North Carolina, and where we had a working farm, meaning we grew, had chickens, we had pigs, we had cows, we had lots of garden space. We lived off of everything on our farm, meaning we milked our cows. We had to get up and do all of that. So just being on the farm and raising animals, and we also ran a stallion service with the Quarter Horse Journal, and we had brood mares. So I always knew, like 7, 8 years old, I would know when those mares needed to have help delivering their babies. And there's a pecking order, and they surround a mare. And I would go out in the middle of the night and help these mares have babies. And I think about that now, going, no, I'm not sure. But my farm was very safe. And just growing up out and watching babies being born and everything, I got pretty intuitive about that. And I also got very sensitive to, we would bottle feed our calves, and then at a certain time, they would have to be killed. And when those came back to the table, I could not eat it because I could smell their blood. So I got really sensitive to this, and I didn't understand how intuitive I really was with all of this. I couldn't eat it, a lot of that kind of stuff growing up, but I did enjoy the vegetable part of it. So fast forward, I really liked that so much that I had an aunt who was just awesome as a nurse, and she would take me to the hospital with her all the time, and I loved the thought of delivering babies. So I went into nursing thinking I was going to get to deliver babies. But when I became a nurse, it was such a big demand for nursing at the time that only the people that were pretty seasoned got to go into labor and delivery. So I ended up being on a ward where I was doing orthopedics, and then I started doing special care or ICU stuff. And then my career went from there to being in the office or doing management. which I enjoyed. But then I started doing sales. I was a sales rep, taking all the equipment to the hospitals. And I did that for a number of years. But throughout that time, just being around patients, I would start to get what was going on with them before they would ever tell me what was going on with them. Because in my day of being a nurse, I actually had to give bed baths. We had to do massages. We had to do all of this stuff before we could give them medication or even, offer them a pain med. So I actually started getting and seeing visuals of what was really going on with their body and recognizing that there was an emotional component to what was physically going on in their body. So from there, I just started picking up books and reading and doing a lot of self-teaching and becoming, like you said, kind of an information junkie. And then I started taking some classes in various different modalities, and it's just gone from there. And I've just found that the more I ask about what's going on with a person, the more information I get. I just truly have a really good connection to Source God Creator. And I am so grateful and thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting that back when you were doing nursing, that they were more natural ways of dealing with pain than just sticking them with a drug. And
yes.
So I'm happy to hear that, because today that is not the case. Today it's, make sure you pump them up with as much painkillers as possible, Tylenol, more Motrin, and then it's, the vaccines or whatever, get your flu shot. And it's really great to hear that way, whenever that was that in like the 70s?
No, I got my degree in the 80s. So it was in the early 80s. And it wasn't very long after that we started they started getting away from that and going heavy on the pills. And then we went totally to IVs, and then the PCA pumps. Do you know those?
No.
We put medication in a pump, and the patient can just use a little device.
Oh, yeah.
Called a PCA pump. So then they started going to that. So, like totally different, totally over medicating. I believe, Nikki, we will go back to the other way. They have to, especially with the mandated regulations now on all the oxycodones and the oxycontins and, the opiate drugs that they got going on. They're saying minimize that. So this is going to be a change mentally for, in our country about that, and undoing that thought process, because look at how many people have gotten addicted with that whole thing.
Right. And I think on a level, we are starting to now really wake up and become conscious of what is really happening to our society and to our medical system. And that is just more of a money-driven institution rather than a helpful one. And I'm not saying that, I don't want to put that into a box, but at the same time, we also have to be cognizant that stuff is real and that does happen. And to find a doctor who really does care about you, that, is few and far between nowadays, unfortunately.
I agree, although there is an association, and I can't remember what it is right now, where they actually, you can find a holistic doctor that will, or a nurse practitioner. So friends that I had that were nurses have actually gone into that, meaning they give IVs that are vitamin C, they do the garlic, they do the glutathione. They're really looking at the whole picture. They're looking at your fibromyalgias, have you got yeast, have you got heavy metal poisoning. They're really, there's a lot of women that are really good, because like me, they also found a need, or they've also specialized in the hormone compounding therapy for women with their hormones. And I've learned a lot just from them. But there are a lot of doctors that actually do that now. As believe it or not, even here in Utah, we have several that are really, really good that I recommend to people.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know that the more holistic approach is definitely coming out, and it's great because I hope that we can then make a dent into
Yes.
the holistic realm and, you know, really send a message to pharmaceutical companies. Oh, I lost your. Hang on for 1 second. Are you there?
I'm here.
I lost your video. That's weird.
It looks like somebody else
Oh,
joined.
there we go. Okay. So as soon as you
Okay.
see. So you know, sorry about that. You know, I do believe that we are transcending into a different realm, if you will, that we are causing the planet to go into a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And so those with a lot lower vibration, those that, AKA Monsanto,
Yes.
our government,
Yes.
those that are working for the darkness, is like, as I like to call it,
Yes.
will be kind of like null and void. It won't exist any longer on the planet.
I agree. It's not soon enough, actually, but it will happen when it happens, and I hopefully it will be soon. I'm pretty amazed, as I'm sure you are, because you're around it a lot, how many people are coming around pretty quickly here.
Yes, and I agree. And I'm so grateful for the people who have joined Mega Wellness Summit to really get a well-rounded view of wellness. This is why I do Mega Wellness Summit, is in mind, body, and spirit,
Yes.
is because of the fact that you have to have all three elements. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And to really broaden the spectrum of healing yourself, it doesn't, just because you have a thyroid issue, just because you have an illness, disease that you're, you know, diagnosed with, that also means something else. So spiritually, something's wrong. Your chakras are off. You know, what's going on with you mentally? Is there trapped emotions? Is there whatever is going on? These things need to be resolved, discussed, and talked about, because they're causing illness in the body.
They sure are causing illness in the body. It's interesting, you know, I mean, I told you I was married to a doctor for a lot of years, and his job is a pulmonary critical care. He comes to me a lot, and he is noticing the component, the emotional component that's related to the person's illness.
Wow.
When he's not saving lives in the ICU, which a lot of those are intubated and they're not talking, he works with chronic, like COPD, asthma, allergies, those type of things. And he says when they can't breathe, you know, they've got issues going home with at home with their families. And, you know, he goes, some of it is still stuff from 20 years ago. And, you know, it's not always somebody who's been smoking, which is our typical thing of people with COPD. So not only him, but just about everybody I talk to in the medical community is starting to recognize where they are, that there is some underlying emotion or something that got out of balance prior to that. And I'm like, thank you. I love it.
Oh, so how was it? So you've kind of been indoctrinated into more of a medical realm, where, you know, you became a nurse and then you married a doctor. So, you know, like, holy crap, you're totally the opposite of of the whole system's point of view. So
Yes.
it's really great to see that you're, like, you know, rooting for the other team.
Yes.
Nice.
But you know what? I think that we all talk about the big pharma. Yes, there are some that are so diehard on that end, and you know who they are, and you don't talk about it, you know. But also, I think anybody in this profession, especially, you know, like my ex-husband, you know, going through all of his schooling, the internship, residency, and the fellowship, what happens is they were taught one way, and they're bringing out, you know, the doctors now and going, you got 15 minutes with a patient, you got to see so many
Right.
per hour. And Doug also triages the emergency room. So when he's got a patient in there and he turns it over to a floor, if it's not the ICU, he's supposed to give it up to somebody else. That wasn't how he was trained. So he also is having to make the shifts and changes. So I think that we get under the misconception that they're not changing, but they really are. They really are waking up with the rest of us too. Not everybody, of course, but I knew that this was my path. I knew that I couldn't watch some of the stuff that was happening as we transitioned from what I learned in nursing school to giving people, over medicating them and doing that. And then watching people get addicted to drugs. That was like unheard of whenever, you know, they were doing LSD or smoking marijuana or whatever people were doing back in the 70s and 80s. But to be addicted to drugs like we are today, to pharmaceuticals, what a low vibration that is. And
Yeah.
they're starting to look for stuff that's different now. So yeah, and I'm very excited. I've always been that way. I find that I have, as I told you, a lot of my friends are still in that arena. They come and talk to me and ask me, and they're more concerned now about, you know, what is it? Like we were talking about the thyroid. What do you feel that is emotionally? And I always find that whenever I go to the doctors, it's never like a 15-minute visit. I go for 2 hours, and we're talking back and forth about what the things that I know and the things that they know, and what they're starting to learn as they go to get their CEUs or going to different conferences. It's starting to be introduced to them, another way of being. So,
Right. And that's great. It is great. You know, and for somebody who has mental illness, it's great for doctors to really think outside the box, or depression. I mean, how rampant is depression right now?
oh, major.
It's major.
Major.
And so, I mean, I'll tell you this story. About 5 or 6 years ago, I went into the doctor. Now, this doctor was coined holistic.
Okay.
And she worked for like a bigger, this was in Wisconsin. I used to live there.
Right.
And so she was coined, oh, you have to go to see this doctor. She's holistic. And I was like, really? And at that time, I was struggling with some depression. Like I couldn't get out of the blues, you know?
Yes.
And so I went to go see her, and, you know, she goes, well, she did sit with me for a long time, which was great and almost not, that's not conventional.
Right.
So she must have sat with me for about half hour and said, look, you know, you have 2 options here. You can either take a pharmaceutical drug, or you can take, what is that other one? It's a vitamin.
Like St. John's wort, something like that.
St. John's wort. Yes, exactly. And I was like, well, you know, I'm not a big drug taker, and I don't want anything to mess with my hormones or thought process or to make me numb.
Exactly.
And so that was the only tool she had. That was it.
Wow.
And so here we are, years later, but how many times has that come up in people's lives where they're given 2 options? Well, Doc, I'm sitting here, I'm so depressed. All I do is cry. I wake up, it's hard for me to do anything in my life. Well, you know what? That's okay. This will make you better. Take some Zoloft.
Right.
Now, the problem is that now you have X, Y, and Z, or lithium that kills your thyroid. Now you have problems after you take
The
the
main, yeah.
the medication. So now you have overgrowth of candida. Now you have problems. Now the depression might have lifted, right?
Right, right.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah,
And now that patient doesn't know what they have
exactly.
because they're then going to have to get educated on candida. They're going to have to get educated on getting some sunlight. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why I wanted to have you on today to talk about mental illness as far as it's really not this small in the mental illness category. It's really very broad and big. And so it's great for somebody to come on and say, this is what's been going on with me, and this is what I've been experienced. I've been on X, Y, and Z medication. Now, I did not go medication route.
good for you.
I did not do that. I knew better. I felt it in the core of my being.
Mm-hmm.
Do not take this medication. And I think it was Zoloft that she was telling me. My other friend, she goes, I just got on Zoloft. It's like the best thing ever. They should put it in the water. And I'm like,
Okay.
I don't think we could be friends anymore.
Yeah.
And I actually stopped being friends with her because I really did. I really did, because this is in 2011 where I had a cleansing of friends. I had a cleansing of self. So I was coming into 2012.
Yes.
And 2012 was a year of awakening for myself. A lot of things happened in 2012. I became a nutritionist, and the friends that no longer served me or no longer were on the same vibration, they were, different thought processes. They left my life. They really did. And so when she's on drugs, and she's not there anymore.
Right.
She's gone. There was no reason to communicate with her anymore.
Right. Well,
So
you don't even have the same interest anymore, so you can't really communicate. Your receptors don't have a way of communicating. I don't know about you, but anytime somebody tells me that they're taking those kind of things, okay, so have you looked at your gut health first? Because serotonin is made in your belly.
Wow.
Who tells you about that?
Right.
Who tells you about your serotonin is really about how well you've taken care of your digestive system. Okay?
Right.
So, are you taking your probiotics? Are you taking your enzymes? Have you checked into leaky gut? Have you got to the point where you're just overeating things that are not appropriate for you? I mean, those are the things I go for enzymes when I get hurt. Like I told you with my ribs, that's the first thing I went for is enzymes. What can I do to start breaking down and that little Pac-Man energy, getting in there and cleaning up the inflammation? Who talks to us about that? And, getting off of the, if you will, the fast foods or foods that are not good for us. I know you probably experienced that since you're a nutritionist, right?
Well, yeah. And, another thing that happened is what was causing the blues is I had a food allergy.
Yes, exactly.
So I was all along building up an intolerance to gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And so, plus living in Wisconsin, where the sun doesn't shine very often, lack of vitamin D, on top of having a food allergy, that's when I could have been coined right then and there as, either manic depressive or she suffers from depression, whatever that diagnosis is. And so as soon as I gave up gluten, the blues lifted.
Wow. How long did it take you to give up the gluten?
What do you mean?
Like when you realized, and you obviously figured it out by yourself, how long did it actually take you to get yourself free of gluten?
Oh, well, you know what? Okay, so here's what I did. I was pregnant. And so I didn't realize the whole depression thing, that it wasn't making that connection. What happened is that my gut was inflamed, and I was pregnant. I was 10 weeks pregnant, and I couldn't stop vomiting. And so anybody else would have been like, oh, you're just having normal pregnancy morning sickness. But I'm like, this isn't in the morning. This is, you know, all day for a whole weekend where, okay, you could have gotten food poisoning. I don't know. My insides feel like they're totally inflamed, you know, like,
Yes. Yes.
uh, I can't really explain it further than that, besides that they just felt really, really swollen.
Bloated and the whole thing. I mean, it's not, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
know.
so my mother said, because she has celiac disease, she said, Nick, you got to take 8 days, take 8 days or 7 days off of gluten, see how you feel. Well,
Okay.
for 3 days, I felt like crap because I was detoxing while
Okay.
being pregnant.
Yes.
And then on the 4th day, fog lifted, literally
I
fog
love it.
lifted. I was like seeing the world through different lenses. I felt empowered. I felt like I felt I was standing taller. It literally took 3 days for
3
my
days.
body.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So and then what happened was, on the 8th day, I went to Starbucks and I got oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't making the connection because I didn't know
Yes.
enough then, really, that oats contained gluten,
Yes.
contaminated. I'm sorry, they don't contain gluten, they're contaminated with gluten.
I
And
didn't know
so,
that. That's a good thing to know.
yes, they're very much contaminated. And so I had oatmeal, flamed up right then and there, doubled over in pain, couldn't get up. I was sick, had to leave work. It was terrible. It was awful. So I stayed off of gluten ever since then. I did go back on it for a period of time, about 3 months after I delivered my daughter,
Yes.
because I was like, oh, that was a pregnancy thing.
Yes.
I'm like not totally gluten sensitive. That's fine.
Right.
But it actually was fine until it wasn't. So it took about 3 months for it to build up, and then it started back again with the intolerant, where I couldn't tolerate the swollen belly anymore.
Wow.
So then I got off all grains.
Okay. Do you just completely get off all grains then?
Totally got off all grains. I lost 30 pounds. I was like full of energy, full of life. I got off all sugar, everything. I mean, like green juice, totally rah,
Yes.
health freak.
No. I got
Yeah.
mine sitting over here. I can't reach it, but yes.
Yeah.
That's cool that it only took 3 days, because I always kind of, I have a lot of doctor friends that are gluten-free, and they are totally advocates of that. Because the way I know it energetically is gluten is like a slave food. So anytime in any past life that you were a slave, it's all related to that. We have no desire to be slaves in this lifetime. So you can see how that kind of correlates to all of that. But they always tell me it's a process, depending on the patient or the client. It could take a couple of months to get totally free with your symptoms. So that would be pretty, I'm assuming they must have a combination of the candida and, the gluten intolerance.
Yeah. Well, I do now have gluten. I did go back on grains. So I moved to California,
Uh-huh.
and like it was all off. Like I'm eating Mexican food because they have the great restaurants around me. There's just convenience everywhere. And from moving from, Wisconsin, I'm
Yeah.
from California, but I moved to Wisconsin and lived there for 8 years. And so I got used to, ringing the doorbell at the farmer's house and
Yes.
getting my grass-fed meat there, and also getting a lot of the organic fruits and vegetables grown locally. And so then I moved to California. I can see why everybody's a vegetarian or vegan here.
Yeah.
Literally, the beef is horrible. I don't even know where they get it.
They may not know either.
Yeah. But it was not like that in Wisconsin.
Yes.
It really wasn't.
In dairy country for sure.
Dairy country. Yeah.
Yes.
So I went back on grains, and I got myself entangled now into candida. I have a fungus or a parasite. I'm sorry. I have a bacteria in my gut. So this all happened within 3 weeks. So good for me. I'm detoxing while I'm doing a summit.
Well, that's good. And you're still smiling. So something must be going right.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing for your detox to help your belly?
Well, I'm on, believe it this or not, I'm on adrenal because my adrenals are
Yes.
um, really compromised.
Yes.
And then I'm on an antifungal and anti-candida. So
Which antifungal are you doing?
it's a formula 2722.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have them with me, but
Is it like a homeopathy formula?
no, it's not.
Uh,
No.
well, because they have like myconazole that you can get a prescription for, but there's one that's really a lot better, um, that we would give our kids if we were nursing them with thrush, and I can't think of what the name of it is. That one is nystatin. Nystatin you can stay on a little bit longer, but I have a hard time convincing my people to write me a prescription for nystatin pill form
Mm.
for the 3 weeks that you really need to get rid of that fungus.
Yeah, I went to a holistic chiropractor and he tested me, and I've actually had I feel a lot better with just being on those supplements. And
Awesome.
I feel like it's a Burberry that I'm on as well.
Oh, that sounds good. Okay,
Yeah.
these are good things for me to know because I
Yeah.
can recommend them to my clients as well.
I don't see medical doctors in any shape, way, or form. I never will go and get a prescription
Uh-huh.
um, at all. I have like a phobia. I
Yeah.
built myself into a phobia. My
Yes.
children won't go to the doctor either. So yeah, we just see naturopaths and chiros and
Isn't it great to be in California where you have that so readily available and you didn't in Wisconsin? I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of fewer there, whereas in California, it's so much easier to find. You know, when I go to see Karen and people like that, I always get to all the acupuncturists and to the health food, you know, all the good things that you can have in California versus what all we have, which is a little bit different because chiropractic is just barely getting known here. Acupuncturists, we hardly have any, maybe one person in the whole
really.
state, you know, in my area, Salt Lake, so that I know about.
In Wisconsin, my experience was you had one or two in your area that were holistic. Um, and the medical system there was better in Wisconsin. The
Yes.
medical system here, they're like Nazis.
Yeah.
And that is no joke because they're very, they're kind of forceful. They look at you like, if you aren't going by with their protocol, they're going to call CPS on you. They're going to call, yes, I'm telling you,
That's bad.
it's really bad. And so it's
That must be
very,
the state of California, you know, just how their regulations are.
yes, it's very, it's kind of scary. And so going to a medical doctor in Wisconsin is very different, or I don't know, any other place in the country is very different than it is here.
Well, Wisconsin has got a great med school there. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so they have,
Freighter,
what is it?
Freighter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that they turn out some really good doctors from there. So, you know, that's always a good thing if you know that you're getting a good doctor from there, you know?
true, true. So I just wanted to see right now, we have about a half hour left. If anybody has any questions or if they want to come on the call and ask Karen a question about what's going on with either your mental illness or mental health or mental wellness, whatever, which one. So if you have any questions, this is what I would like for you to do. You'll see on there, it says manage participants. Just go on there, click on there and raise your hand. So click on manage participants, raise your hand. I will go ahead and call on you and unmute you so you can go ahead and ask Karen the question. There is another way to ask a question without coming on if you're kind of shy, that you can just go ahead and type your question into the chat box, and you can either just chat with me or chat with everybody, and we'll get your question answered.
Okay.
So in your experience, Karen, do you tell people what to take, what kind of supplements to take, or what you feel would be right for their body?
Yes,
You
I
do.
do. But, again, I'm not a doctor and I'm not supposed to be prescribing. So what I say is, if I were you, I would think about taking this. And again, as you know, there's a whole education piece to this whole process. And you got to know what you're talking about when you're talking to them. But a lot of times I get people to believe a lot more if I can muscle test them in person and, show them a various different, whether they take the product and use it and test it that way, or I'm actually having them hold the product. Because if I could show you my little kitchen with my ribs the way they are, I have to have all my little vitamins down so I can see what I can take. I just, have them muscle test to see what's there. And then I try to tell them what I know in my own words. And then I say, go home and look it up and see. But use your wisdom about this. You have to feel good about it. You've got to teach people about going and not going for the pill from the doctor. And you've also got to teach them about their stomach and their gut health. And this is where serotonin is made. Nobody's telling you this. And let's get you on some enzymes. Let's talk about probiotics. Let's really work on your gut health. And then, of course, here, like I told you, it's snowing like crazy today. We had 60-degree weather yesterday. So we actually need some vitamin D. And what people tell me that doctors are saying from their blood work, sometimes it can be 15, 20,000. That's a lot that they need. I use a day for vitamin D.
Right.
Some days we're socked in with kind of a inversion is what we call it here, but you just go up the mountain to go skiing, but not everybody's a skier, but anyway, I do recommend, I'm very much, because this is what I do know. I can go in and energetically work with them with God's source, creator, universe, and do some healing on them and clear out the energies that may not be serving them at this point. But also, if they're taking a vitamin or a mineral or some type of herb, it actually is telling their body, I love you, I love me. And so if we can get that person back into love of self, then they're going to start to feel better anyway. So vitamins and minerals have that energy to say, I love me, I'm taking care of me. So that's what I go about teaching that way, because I want them to long-term not only think about energetically what's going on in my life, what do I believe about, what's going on, and let me identify what that is, but what can we do to help you make that transition? Or if they're still going to go to the doctor, they're going to do some of the other ones. What can we do so that you're not tearing down your system, but we're building their system back up? So we're not prone to the autoimmune disorders. We're not, so with the thyroid, because I've been doing a lot of reading and studying on that. And what I found out with that is that the adrenals is the root of that stuff. So taking your, being able to get some kind of supplement that works for your adrenals, and what I like sometimes doesn't always work for everybody. But if I have taught them properly how to muscle test, they can go into the health food stores, or I know girls that work there too. So I'll tell them to go talk to them and tell them that you want them to muscle test, because they really don't want the health food stores don't want to have to muscle test and be reliable for that, because you could be perceived as prescribing that way too. So,
so for people who don't know what muscle testing is,
yes.
Can you just describe what muscle testing is?
Yes, it's kinesiology, and that's typically what chiropractors use. And what it is what we have what we believe in our head and our mind and our subconscious, and then we have what our body believes to be as true. So from here down, anything that you're muscle testing is going to say, this is what my body believes to be true. And then I use several different ways of doing that, whether, it's your traditional stick the arm out and, see what is a yes and what holds strong as yes and no will break. Or I use my fingers this way and teaching them that way, making the loop and trying to break through with it. So, my name is Karen, my name is Nikki, so we've got a no on that. Or maybe even if they don't trust that, stand and face north and see what you sway and have them practice that with me so that they get a yes or they get a no. And then also talking about staying hydrated. It's surprising how many people don't drink a lot of water. They're coffeeed up, they're, caffeined up, I guess would be the word. So you've got to be hydrated in order for that to actually work. So that also is a teaching process of helping people to know how muscle testing works. And then sometimes they'll just call and say, well, you muscle test for me. And I'm good with that too, because you can proxy test for somebody.
And so do you see patients mostly just in person or over the phone or Skype?
All of the above. All of the above. Yeah.
And so you're able to tap into them, and then what if they just don't say anything to you and they're just, do they have to give you some symptoms?
I actually like it better because a lot of times we're picking up so many people, so many different energies, throughout the day. And for me, I like to know a little bit more rather than just being a psychic, and picking up. Yes, psychically, can I intuitively pick up the reading and go from there? But when they come into me, I get them to tell me what's going on with you. And then I'm listening to what they're saying, and I'm starting to pick up their belief systems. And as they're talking to me, I'm, connecting to Source God Creator, and I actually make sure that I have permission to connect to a person's space so I can start seeing what's going on with them with my eyes closed intuitively. And I'm listening for the belief structures, and I'm listening. I want them to tell me symptomatically what's going on with you. Why are you here today? They know that I do medical intuition, or they know that, I do some type of energy work or healing on some level. And so I kind of do everything, but that's what I usually do, and then have them tell me what's happening, and then we'll go from there. And once they start to feel more comfortable, more and more information will come. Medically, the medical intuition for me just starts to come, and I can see whether it's another lifetime or it's in this lifetime. It came from genetically from a parent. We need to resolve this and that, and we have some pretty good sessions going on that way.
Interesting. So it might not even be their stuff that they have to work out. It's really could be ancestral. It could be from their parents. Could be from somebody else energetically. Also, too,
yes,
you had mentioned earlier about, this is before we started recording, kind of like, can you get a demon stuck on you? Or so what we say in Italian is like you get the moloch, and
yes.
so
Yes.
you know what I mean? And so
Yes.
we wear the little chill, it looks like a little chili, so to protect us.
Right.
And so that is, you can see that.
Yes. When I go into a person's space, and it's very odd for me because it's almost like you hear a bunch of different people, or you feel something very, very nasty on them. And it's very common. A lot of people don't like to address that part, but I kind of start out with that sometimes, just because if I'm hearing more people, which in, medical terms, we could say you have multiple personalities. You have, something going on there, bipolar. They may give you a name if you went in and said something, but when energetically I'm entering their space and I can hear a couple of different voices. Okay, well, who is this? And the other thing, if there's just a nasty energy and I feel like the conversation that they're having with me isn't matching up with the person here, I know that I need to do a clearing on that. So it's basically just commanding them to leave. But what you get are people getting all worried. Oh my gosh, I got entities, or I got a wayward, or I've got something stuck with me. But
what's a wayward?
A wayward is, we are light beings, and the more light that you become, even though you may not be in recognition of that, we don't look at ourselves and see light bodies. The waywards kind of stick to us because they don't remember if they've passed on that they need to go on to God's light. They actually want to connect to light energy. So they're kind of bleeding parasitically or draining your energy field. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Any and all of
Are
those.
they kind of the in-between? Because I have heard that when you're in between, people who are not ready to let go of this life, that they are kind of in the in-between of heaven and earth kind of thing.
Yes. It'd be like if, okay, so like the hospitals have lots of them, okay? Because people die there all the time and they don't know that they've left or they've died, and you have to sometimes help them get to the light. That would be kind of a wayward. I know there's a lot of different definitions of it, but that would be my definition of a wayward spirit. Didn't remember they're supposed to leave, that they've passed away, it's time to go on. So you just command them to go on to the light. So they may just pick up with anybody that's more, their frequency and their vibration is a little bit higher, and they're light beings, they're alive, they're not, they're here. So if we command them to go, and then again, the other parts of that is we can bring entities and things on if we've had some trauma, such as sexual abuse or physical abuse, emotional abuse. We bring something on that protects us. That's kind of an evil thing that will kind of get that person and protect us from somebody who's been mistreating us. So you find people kind of get a little attitude, and, I don't know. I have a pretty good sense of people who have entities with them. They're kind of mean, and, they do a little, it wouldn't be who I would say that they really are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually nice people, but if they got something going on that's kind of entity, the ones that are flipping you off and swearing at you and doing all these things that would not typically be are.
My own personal story, I did an interview with somebody, and I really felt after that call that she put some sort of something. And my mother says, don't allow, no human being is able or capable of doing that to another human being. Okay. But I do feel like she put some sort of something on me. It was so dark. After the interview, I got really angry. My mood changed. I was really frustrated all the time. I was snapping at my children, my husband, anybody who was like around. I couldn't find my smile. It was like really bizarre. And I said to my mother, give me, which I haven't even used yet.
Yeah.
Give me some sage, because I need, something is wrong.
Yes. Yes.
And so she basically went in and she cleared, my mother can do this.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So she cleared the energy for me, and I was fine.
How quickly did it leave? How quick was your change after your mom did it?
Pretty quickly.
That's good, because saging is old way of doing it, which,
which I didn't do sage.
Yeah, well, good.
I
Your
didn't
mom did
actually
the
do it.
clearing.
She did
Yeah.
the clearing. I didn't actually need the sage. When I first moved into this house, I probably should have did sage all over the walls and, did that, but I didn't, but it seems to be okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, here's what I would just do. I mean, I'm all about teaching people how to take care of themselves energetically, and I call this energetic hygiene. You can command those things to go to the light, go to Creator's light, and make the command. You are commanded to go to the light now, and they have to go. They have to get off of you. Um, True, your mom is very right. You never have to accept anything, but sometimes we're kind of vulnerable in that space. So another part of my teaching is, let's just zip up every day as a mental knowing, this is how I'm going to go out in the world because I am who I am, and I want to be zipped up and protected from all of these other energies and
Yeah.
thoughtful of other people. So any tool that I can give the client to help them. And then the other thing is, they will come and say, I've got this, or, I feel like somebody's done something like this. And I will check their belief systems to make sure that they don't believe they have to accept something like that from somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people will see me in videos holding something.
Yes.
And so I'll hold, I'm
I
feeding.
love that. That's pretty.
Isn't that pretty?
That's chakra?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I want to call this selenium. It's not selenium though. It's
Selenite.
selenite. Thank you. So I hold this, a lot of my interviews now, I'm holding
Good for
something
you.
grounding to protect myself because I'm very sensitive to energy.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's good for me to wherever I go. I mean, I have so many different crystals and things.
Yes, beautiful.
I need it. And so, people who are watching right now, they'll probably have seen in past videos that I'm like, what is that?
Yes.
And so I'm holding this to protect myself and to keep me grounded and to make sure I'm connected.
Good for you.
Thank
So
you.
you found a way energetically, some energetic hygiene that helps you and that works for you, and I think that's amazing that we're doing that. I think it's really important for us to teach our kids that too.
Yeah.
I love teaching my grandkids, but they're 17 down to 5 about energy work. And my baby my baby, but she's not a baby, she's 19, has done a lot of different things with me because she's very interested in that. And I like the well-grounded part of that because she thinks a little differently than, she's got the whole dad programs going on from that side, and then she's got mommy's stuff that goes on over here. Well, let's just look at this a little bit differently and start to figure out what's really going on here.
Right.
Again, like the entity things, flying, there's tons of entities there. There's tons of them in hospitals. There's tons of them in bars. I told you my 33-year-old has my 5-year-old granddaughter, Marley. And so she's always asking me to protect her because she works in a bar part-time as a bartender. And there are lots of entities around those kind of places,
Sure. Yeah.
And just being aware, she's not my drinker kid. Most of my kids are not really like that, but she makes good money that way, yeah. And part-time money that way. But it's just the awareness that you can actually have a conversation with people and let them know. I mean, for heaven's sakes, going into grocery stores, going around energetically over the past couple of weeks, it feels like so that the energy is so dense and heavy with this depression and almost like a suicide kind of energy. And I have to come home and, zip myself up and, ask for God Creator to, take that stuff on away wherever it needs to go. I don't know. I mean, I hear all kinds of things from people, but you probably hear the same kind of things I do. You know, we get those from the chemtrails. We get them from whatever the government is putting on our food or whatever, however it's getting there. I don't know, I guess because I'm so sensitive, I can walk out and feel that energy.
Yeah.
And I just, I have to really do my hygienic stuff to keep me protected in a way, and knowing that I am connecting to Source Guide Creator and keeping my energy really clean and really pure so that I can receive pure guidance, pure information, and where I need to go from here, especially if I'm working with other people.
Exactly.
I mean,
Now,
I certainly want to make sure they have a good experience with energy work and working with people.
mhm. I just want to see if anybody has a question. Go to, oh, so if anybody has a question for Karen, go ahead and raise your hand. And how you do that is you go to manage participants, and then there'll be a little button that says raise hand, or go straight to the chat box, and okay, we got one. I'm sorry, but this was at 1:07. I apologize. Okay, so Karen, does Karen recommend taking vitamin K along with vitamin D?
If you're not on any other medication, you can do that. But I would also muscle test how long you need to take it, and because it's not always imperative, but vitamin K is one of those drugs that you can't mix with pharmaceutical medication. So it's probably best to ask your doctor about that, but vitamin K and D could go together, but you're not going to need to take vitamin K all that long.
Yeah, and you have to be careful with your vitamin K you're using because a lot of it's synthetic.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder why you would have to be using a vitamin K. Okay, so it says, according to Dr. Thomas Levi, only taking a bit D pushes calcium into muscles where it doesn't belong and cause arthritis-like conditions. So taking vitamin K will push calcium into bones.
Well, that's interesting. So if it feels right for
Thomas
you,
Levi, I'm not exactly sure about that. Are you? Do you know?
I'm not either, because I'm a proponent of what does your body really want,
Yeah. So, hang on. Are you? I'm messaging this person to see if they'll be willing to come on so you can tap in and do a reading. We just have a few more minutes left, but if they're willing to do that, then that would be a great healing for them.
And even if they don't, Nikki, I can actually do some clearings of waywards, balancing out hormones and the brain chemistry.
Okay. Yeah, so I won't share the name of this person, but just to keep it private. But if we can just do a clearing on everybody who is on the call, because for some reason, they're on the call they need something, right? They're looking for answers.
Right.
And so if we could just do a clearing for everybody and just make sure that everybody is loved and blessed. And I don't have mental conditions, so okay, that's fine, absolutely. But so we can go ahead and do a clearing.
Okay. All right. So you'll see me just close my eyes and go up and connect. And to the group and anybody that would be coming on to the call later or any other time. And let's just do an energy clearing of any wayward psychic hooks, cords, or attachments. And just let those go. And while we're at it, let's ask that our brain chemistry be balanced. Again, even though serotonin is made in the belly, everything being balanced, and also your hormone systems. They are just chemical messengers. So sometimes the messaging isn't getting from one organ to the next as it travels through the bloodstream. Just cleaning up that and each person's body so that the chemical messengers are actually relaying exactly the message they need to relay to each organ. And where should we go from here? Let's download everybody with knowing what it feels like to actually be loved by God's source universe, and that the universe has your back. God has your back. Whatever wording is appropriate for you individually with that you are being supported, you're being loved, and what it feels like in turn to love yourself, to feel very comfortable in your body, and as you're spiritually growing and physically, emotionally, this is such a great time to be here on earth. I'm not indicating that there's something wrong with you by any means, because we are definitely in a time of growth, and that we're able to do that with ease, with grace, and a sense of knowing that we are magnificent and we have something to contribute to the world that will really help each other grow, and that we're able to share those gifts so that people can grow and can progress, and opening you up to remembering what your gifts are and how to utilize those gifts, when to use them, where to use them. Wow. Can you feel that, Nikki?
I can.
Is there anything else that you're thinking, honey, like for the group that we can download them with? The hope, the joy, what it feels like to have hope, joy, and happiness every single day.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly what you're supposed to have. I mean, depending upon one's circumstances, as we know, we all have different lives and grew up very differently. We are supposed to be in joy and love and happiness, and how to step back and take that moment just to say every day, I do have the intention to be in joy and happiness and love, and where can I be of service or help someone else, or raising my children. I'm open to that information that will actually progress me forward. And whatever healing that we're not giving the individuals on the call, I'm just going to leave that open, that God, source, creator, universe will provide whatever healing that they're actually looking for. Whatever their body needs, whatever their heart needs, whatever their cells need. And some people actually need like a little bit of organ rejuvenation, especially around the adrenals and the thyroid, just kind of plumping back up the adrenals, letting them know that they are loved. And all of the stuff that we've stuffed down in our bodies with the throat chakra, just letting go of that. And anything else that anyone would need on this call, that the energy is still there and they can ask for what they actually would like to have in their own lives. We want to kind of keep that pretty clear as I have in my life, fill in the blank, whether it be I have money, I have good health, I have whatever it is, I have it instead of I want it or I need it, because want and need have a way of kind of keeping you in that energy rather than having it and getting it. So we want to remember that. Is there anything else? Are you picking anything else up, Nikki?
Just that the people who are not on the call, who are listening to the recording of this, also receive this as well.
Okay. And I will make that a broad, I did it in the beginning when I started doing the downloads, but make it so that they can actually feel the energy and know that they are getting what they came on the call to get, whatever that may be, that when they get to this part and we're given the downloads, that they have the ability to just ask Source God Creator for whatever they're looking for, whatever healing they're wanting in their own life, that they get it and they're willing to receive it. I think when we talk about hope, there's a sense around like we really don't get to have it. I don't know where to go get it. I don't know how to get the help that I'm really looking for. And that's one of the things you can ask, who do I go to? And I promise you that God will put somebody in your pathway, or the universe will bring someone to you, whether it be you, Nikki, or me, or, somebody that they can go to, or a book, or something just speaks to them. We have that answers inside. We all have the answers inside, and activating and remembering that knowing again, that we always have the answer. How to quiet the mind enough to go in and get the answer, have the answer. And also living in our truth. I am really surprised how many people that I will work with that, are married and they can't talk about it in front of their spouse. They can't have any kind of relationship that talks about energy work around their spouse or their significant other. And what does that feel like to know that you can really communicate with that person, whoever you're with, your family, your kids, whomever it is, and really start to share, because we are seeking out that information. Our body, our cells want that knowledge. They have a remembrance of doing this, being able to heal themselves and getting information. So opening up those pathways to do it. Okay, how does that feel, Nikki? Is that looking pretty good?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel it. I feel love. I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling like it was definitely, I think you probably tapped into my energy, because what you just said just spoke to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Because especially on a spousal level, so I agree. Communication is key, especially with the thyroid. It's using your voice.
Yes.
So, and in mental illness, it all ties in together on an energetic level. So I just want to say thank you so much, Karen. This is amazing. You are amazing.
You are too, Nikki. I love you. I love what you're doing. I'm so excited for you. I love your recipes.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's a journey of love for sure, and to help humanity and to raise all of us up, and yeah, we are here to inspire each other. So
yes, and you're very good at what you do, so keep doing it.
Thank you so much. I just want to let everybody know too, that's on the call, if you came on late, this will be up, I'd like to say 5 o'clock, but that's really hopeful because my internet has been really slow. So let's say to the internet gods, let's have fast internet and get this to everybody who needs the call tonight by 5 o'clock. So I want to let you guys go so I can work on that, so I can get the recording to everybody on time. So thank you so much. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Big hugs, honey. Love
big,
you.
Big hugs, big virtual, like loving,
yes.
squeeze, like all of that. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you to everybody on the call. I appreciate you. And everybody have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.